Hello, everybody. I am the Worm. Welcome back to Raging Loop. Last time we had a little bit of a fact finding mission. We had emerged, or I should say, Haruki's memories had emerged during the scene where he was with Konzo during the early parts of the Darkness route. And so, utilizing his memories and his position as a wolf, he was able to get Konzo to have, a conversation. But really, it was Konzo informing us about the history of the feast in this village. I should say recent history. And he did this because well, we informed him of our status, or Haruki informed him of his status as a wolf, and that the status of his granddaughter as well as being a wolf. And obviously, Kanzo was taken aback because to his mind, that just didn't make sense. Why would a wolf do that? Well, the the excuse that Haruki gave was that he was an outsider, but we were a looper, so we just went with the answer that would make sense to him. And we learned quite a lot about both Konzo and about the previous feasts. This is something that's been hinted at for a very long time, and we did get quite a lot. So, within the recent history of this village, we know of three previous feasts. That would make the one we are currently looping in the fourth feast that we know of. According to the history and mythology, there have been feasts since ancient times, but we know about the four. The first, Konzo talked about as occurring right around when he was born, and this was apparently during World War II, I believe. And this was quite distressing to hear about, because the implication that caused was that most of the ones who participated were elderly women and children, and that I don't even want to imagine what that was like. But we don't really have to, because as far as we know, we don't know much. Konzo said he was born around then, so he didn't really get to participate or know about what was going on. But then there was a long period of time. So there was that first feast, and then Konzo grew up, as a kid, a young adult, and the second feast only occurred, when he was long into adulthood. And this was this first feast, or excuse me, the second feast. Which one was it? This was the one. I think I know more about who wasn't involved. So we know Tai-san was not there, Kaori was not there. Um, his son, we learned, Konzo's son and his daughter-in-law were not there. And so obviously Haru was not there. So we still don't really know many of the participants of this second one. It was also a bunch of the older folk who were apparently, veterans of the first, or not necessarily all of them, but a good chunk of the people involved in this one knew about or were involved with the first one. And that's where Konzo got to see. I think he said there was an older man who said, "Yeah, hey Konzo, if we fall here, you're going to be the head of the village essentially," and that's what happened. So, in that one, Konzo was a human. The third one was the biggest one in terms of its relevance to our characters here in the story. In this one, again, Tai-san was gone, Haru was gone, Kaori was not there, and thus her sons were not there. But people who we do know were there. It was Kanzo, his son and daughter, um, uh, Kaori's husband, Yasunaga, and Yoshitsugu's father, the Higuchi, who was there supposedly to make the watering hole. Um, Gensan, the mentioned the scarcely mentioned Gensan, and the old wolf guy were there that we know of. There were others, of course. And within this final or penultimate feast, we had Kanzo lost his son, and that specific incident was Kanzo was the crow. His son claimed to be the crow, and thus the two of them got into a huge fight, with the majority siding with Kanzo. And this behavior obviously led to Kanzo's strategy that we see in this feast here, where whenever there's more than one guardian, he doesn't want to deal with the false guardians. He wants to get rid of them as soon as possible. So that's why he always goes hang them both, because he's already gone through that experience of that traumatic experience of having his own son be a fake guardian against him. I believe it was said that his daughter-in-law, Kanzo's daughter-in-law, tried to... Did he say try to leave or try to get revenge on him? Either way, she was out at night and got hit with the corruption. And Higuchi, the Kaori's father... No, excuse me. Kaori's husband also died in that feast. And one of the more curious things that we learned is that apparently the feast ended, or I should specifically say, the mists cleared before all the wolves were taken out. Now this is quite important. At least Haruaki thought it was something to note down, because if there's someone responsible for, I think Haruaki said basically, if someone's responsible for this mist, maybe because imagine it wasn't completely modern day. It was 8 years ago, the last one. If we were thinking, what caused this mist to appear, that could be a pretty complicated process, or who knows, what is it, a mist machine, or we're not sure what the specifics are, but maybe for whatever reason the mist was taken out early, and thus the feast was called to an end because no more mist, they could leave. Well, of course, there's something supernatural about the mist, right? Because you can't leave, you can't physically get out of there. So that's an interesting question. There's something was going on there that caused the mist to end early. And this led to a certain revelation. You could maybe put some things together, and the reveal was that perhaps Gensan was a wolf from that last feast. And the reasoning for that is because he knew about the badger, which is, if you're a normal human, you wouldn't normally, as we've seen in this feast, you wouldn't, unless you really start getting into some of the more obscure lore or mythology of the village, you would have no reason to even imagine or know about the badger. And so the fact that Gensan knew about the badger might mean that he was a wolf, since the wolves were the ones that were informed about the badger. Okay. Yeah, that's most of the summary, I think. Haru was Haru was found after the mist cleared, I think. But we still didn't get specific details about... Oh, we did get a little bit where I'm not sure how important it is for the wider story, but Kanzo and Haru had a bit of a I don't know if I want to say falling out, but Kanzo had lied to her essentially, telling her that her parents fell off a cliff when in the reality he, participated in the event that hanged him and then her mother was brutalized in the corruption. So, due to him lying to her about that, he slowly over time just got, he distanced himself from her kind of emotionally because obviously he feels guilt and shame over what happened. And so Haruaki tried to explain to him that what his thoughts about Haru in the modern day in the present may not actually be correct, which he seems to think Kanzo seemed to think that she had changed a lot. And Haruaki said, "No, she's still an earnest, honest girl who will, state her mind." And yeah, so but we still don't get a. I don't think we got a clear picture about what the deal is with her possession. Okay, so I think that's a pretty good summary here. I'm gonna quickly take a small break. It should only take a second for you guys. One moment, please. Okay, I'm back. All right, let's continue on here. We're doing another hint corner now, and so I guess we'll find out whether or not we're sort of continuing the main story, or maybe this will be another sort of fact-finding mission. So let's see what happens. Talk to me, sheep. Where do I go now?
やったな大将。最後の鍵の一つ、キー19をゲットだ。早速まとめつつ、次のヒントも言わせてもらうぜ。今回のバッドエンド22、題して、じいさんの最初で最後の一発で死亡についてだが、ここで明らかになったのは安水の歴史だ。特に前回、前々回の宴の証言、あとは春の秘密にも言及があったな。
I'd need to go back and see what the specific wording was. I'm wondering, do you think Haru had something to do with why the mist was cleared up early? I'm just trying to think of what possibilities there are here.
この情報は安水に潜む邪悪と対峙するために必要だ。が、そいつはちょいとヘビーな物語になるぜ。
What, and it hasn't been grueling so far? Come on, sheep.
つうわけで、もしまだ未入手なら、5、基地の、9、過ごし方はに飛んでみてくれねえか。
Well, if you insist.
そこには最初に手に入ったキー20で開く鍵がある。そこで軽く話でもして息抜きしてくるといいぜ。
Well, okay.
よし、今回はここまで。次も元気に死んでこい。そういう夢だったってわけだ。次はもっとうまくやれ。羊が1匹、羊が2匹。
Ba-bam. Okay. Let's go here. Wait a second. Wit Q had a pastime. Okay. So this is pretty dang early in Wit. It's after the first feast. I don't remember how the feast Didn't no one die the first feast? In wit? Or am I misremembering? I think no one died the first feast. Well, we'll find out, right? Let's check it out. If the real story behind the feast made people into that, couldn't that have happened to Kanzo-san? Wolves and the Badger, I knew it was a thing, but I didn't quite understand how it worked. That was probably something I could only figure out if I became a badger or a wolf. That meant it was pointless to think about it now. The thing I had to do now was ask Hisako a question. Bam, all the memories. Oh yeah. It just came back to me. I was the one... No, excuse me. I was the me that had been crushed by a million sheep. I'd somehow forgotten that. The looping was kinda irregular this time, so my memories weren't maintained properly. Anyway, since I remembered it now, I figured I had to ask her something.
何かしら、妻子くん。
I'd said I was going to get some fresh air and caught up to Mamiya-san. In this timeline, she was a wolf, so she wasn't very stable right now. And with the whole snake act she'd pull tomorrow, she'd go completely out of control. I'd have liked to talk to her in a timeline where Hashimoto-san was alive, but I imagined it'd be hard to find a chance to talk to her then. I remembered it at a decent time, though, so whatever. I'd make it work.
さっきの昔話の話でちょっと追加質問がありまして。
ムジナの話？あれはどこまで行っても水かけ論というか、想像の域は出ないと思うけど。
Acting like she didn't know, huh?
いや、そうじゃなく、そのちょっと前に気になったことがありまして。狼、蛇、猿、カラスについては眷属信仰とか蛇神の例を挙げておられましたよね。雲については何かないんです。
ああ、気づいた？
She giggled in a somewhat creepy manner. Apparently, it was easy to talk to her if it was about her specialty.
実はちょっと雲の眷属については心当たりがなくてね。勉強不足だわ。
でも確かにあんまり聞いたことがないですよね。雲の神様。
そうなのよね。雲の妖怪ならいくつか心当たりがあるんだけど、ムカデなら毘沙門天の使いなんだけど、ほら武田信玄のムカデ衆とか知らない？
I gotta say, Mamiya, no, I do not know about Shingen Takeda's centipede army. Sounds pretty crazy, though, gotta say.
ああ、ムカデは前にしか進まないから武将のシンボルには人気があったとか。
Interesting.
そうそう。昆虫じゃない虫のお仲間ってことで勘弁してくれない？
Oops.
いやー、厳しいでしょ
う。よね。世界的に見ても雲絡みの神って結構希少なのよね。
そうなんです。
ええ、アフリカのアナンシとか北米のイクトミとか、他にもインディアン系の神話にはなぜか雲モチーフが多いんだけど、実はちょっと面白い仮説が。あら？
She looked behind me, so I turned around and saw Yasunaga-kun.
すみません。何されてるのかなと思って。
ああ、オカルトのお勉強の続きよ。
僕が聞いたんだよ。さっきの空気だと続けるの難しそうだったから。
なるほど。でもあんまり良くないですよ。この状況で密談は。
それは確かだけど、伝説を掘り下げとくのは大事だと思うからさ。あと、単純に興味深いし。
それは同意見です。ああいうのが民族学って言うんですか？
Folkloristics, huh? I'm not sure I've ever seen that word. Is that a word? Folkloristic? Huh.
いやいや、そう名乗ったら怒られるわよ。神話オタクトークというか、伝承ゴシップっていうか。
Yeah, like an informal way to Call it.
興味あるなら、君も聞いていけば。その方が僕らも疑われずに済むし。
そうだな。ちょっとなら。
We weren't saying anything that was worth hiding anyway.
雲の話をされてたんです。
ええ、雲について間宮久子のとんでも仮説。実は植松家はオブジワインディアンの末裔だったんだよ。
Of course. Of course. We should have seen this coming. The hints were all there. Yes.
なんだって？
どういうことなんです？
It's like reverse Mormonism. We got natives, Native Americans, all the way in Asia.
どういうことなんでしょ
ネタが通じないと見るや即座に見捨てたわね。まあいいけど、ドリームキャッチャーって知ってる？
Yeah.
アトラクションか何かです。
はい先生、僕知ってます。木と紐で作った網みたいなモビールっぽい吊り飾りですよね。
正解。あれオブジワ族っていうインディアン部族の民芸品なんだけど、あれ実はクモの巣を模してるの。悪い夢をクモの巣に捕まえていい夢だけが子供に届くっていうのがドリームキャッチャーの名の由来。さらにこのドリームキャッチャーの起源に関する話にはアシビカアシっていうキャラクターが出てくる。なんか似てない？植松家の話と。
本当だ。黄泉の夢から人を守ったっていう雲と似てる。すごい。じゃあ植松家は本当に何百年だか前に日本にやってきたインディアンが。
It's the secret that yes, the secret that's existed for centuries. My goodness.
安永君、騙されてはいけない。
え？
まあ 0.01% くらいの確率で当たってるかもしれないけど、多分これは偶然の一致。似たような伝説なんて世界中にあるし、その全てが単純に同一物だっていうのはちょっと苦しい。
あれだ、日本人は実はユダヤ人だったとか、源義経はジンギスカンだったとか、そういう説もあるんだよ。
This is just you're throwing a lot at me, how Rocky. Gotta say, I've not heard this one. The reason I brought up Mormonism was because it's what is it? One of the tribes of one of the lost tribes, or supposedly the ones that went to America. And now we've got this one here. Yeah, because the lost tribes of Israel, they're lost for a reason, right? So you could just take your pick. Anywhere in the world, you could put your theory. It's like, this is the one. These are the lost Jews. Yeah. But I don't know about this one. For one, I don't know Minamoto no Yoshitsune. I know about Genghis Khan. But I'm not sure what the relation here is. Huh.
え？チンギス・ハン？
信じちゃダメだってば。こういう珍説奇説は T と長の字は形が似てるから元は同じだレベルの奇弁を含んでるものさ。
T and is this a Japanese symbol?
そういうものなんですか。
世の中には道楽やら妄想やら支援やらで学問してる人も多いし、往々にしてそういう人の方が声が大きいの。
Yeah. I mean, they can be fun sometimes. It's the people who begin to take them very, very seriously. Yes.
人の妄想が夢を生むことは認めるけどね。それはあくまで害のない範囲で分別を持って楽しまないと。話がずれたけど、さっきの話についてはさすがにインディアンの血筋なんて話はなかったにしても、 すっごい大昔に口伝で伝わった伝承がたまたま残ってたとか、関連性が見つかる可能性もゼロじゃない。
なるほど。
ところで2人はユングって知ってる？心理学の基礎を作った一人で、いろいろ夢のある概念も提唱してる人なんだけど。
倫理の参考書にちらっと載ってたような。
Carl Jung, yes.
集合無意識の話ですか？
Excuse me, Haruaki. It's called the morphogenetic field. I'll have you know.
それにはつながるけど、難しい話はとりあえず置いといて。ユングはさっき言ったみたいな神話や伝承の類似性は人類が共通で持ってるイメージから生まれると考えた。人種も時代も関係ない人間という種に普遍的なイメージ。似た神話が離れた国や文明で生まれるのはそのせいだって。
随分思い切った推論ですね。それよりはさっきみたいに歴史のいつかに伝わったって方がありそうな。
異論は当然でしょう。でも彼はそう考えて、そういった人類共通のイメージを原型と名付けたの。そしていくつかの原型を定義した。トリックスターとかアニマとか。その中で雲はグレートマザーという原型を象徴するものとされてるの。
グレートマザー？
そう、大いなる母、すべてを生み慈しみ愛し、束縛し執着し貪り食って生み直す大いなる守護神のイメージ。雲は人類に共通的にそういうイメージを抱かせる、またはそういう行為や感情を想起させるってことらしいけど、もしそういう原型があるとすれば、遠く離れたアメリカ大陸と日本の全く接点がない2つの集団の間で、この眠りを守るために糸を紡ぐ雲みたいな原型に基づく信仰が生まれることはあり得るかもね。
なるほど。そういうのを調べるには心理学も関わってくるのか。
いや、まあ私はあくまでそんな夢物語を提案するだけの無責任な立場だから、本気にはしないでね。
でも夢物語に対していろんな学問上のアプローチがあるっていうのは新鮮です。
でしょ？だから私はこの集落の信仰をちゃんとした方法で調べることができれば相当面白いと思っちゃうの。面白いって言うとまた怒られるかしら。でも本当、それでお金が出るなら自分で調べたいくらい。
そういうのどこで勉強できるんです？間宮さんは大学で学ばれたんですか？
あれ、安永君は放送志望じゃないの？
ええ、もちろんですよ。
大学は自分が勉強したいことを学ぶところだっていうのが私の先生の口癖だったけどね。もし気が変わったら紹介するわよ。大学の文化人類学部の先生。
Can't say the name.
ありがとうございます。
Mami-san left him a business card and said he could contact her anytime. He continued to ask her about folkloristics, looking really passionate about it. I really appreciated how people could bond over academic subjects in the most unexpected of places. Well, I actually had another question myself.
兄ちゃん、さっきから何やってるの？
ごめん。もう戻るよ。すみません、いろいろ。またよかったら。
ええ、いつでも聞いて。
兄ちゃんってば、気が多くない？
ちょっと待って。一体何の話？
Perfect timing from Haru-chan.
もしかして一人の未来ある若者を泥沼に引きずり込んでしまったかな。
泥沼ってことはないでしょう。いや、オカルトライターとか言ったら 若干人生の泥沼じみてるかもしれませんが。
ひど。でも否定できないな。
彼が学者さんを目指したいと思うなら、それは誰からも後ろ指刺されるようなことにはならないような。
不採士くん、理系ね。
まあ。
文系の金にならなさっぷりを舐めたらあかんぜよと言わせてもらおうかしら。
That's quite a statement, okay.
失礼しました。そうでした。
Although that is fairly broad, yes.
ムカつくわ。ともかく、私たちも戻る？
ああ、その前に、さっき、雲の妖怪なら思い当たるっておっしゃいましたよね。一応、どんなのがいるか教えてもらえませんか？
それこそ、ジョロウグモとか、火を操ったり、赤子を抱かせてきたり、伝承によってイメージはまちまちだけど、大体は妖艶な美女で男をどうこうする妖怪よね。源頼光が退治した土雲はでっかい雲だけどやっぱり美女に化けてるし。
どっちかっていうと雲は毒婦の原型なんじゃないかって気がしますね。
Yeah, I mean, I think in my part of the world there's the Black Widow, so I mean definitely that tracks.
言えてる。ブラックウドウもそうだしね。
Precisely. We laughed a bit. Chatting with Mamiya-san was always entertaining.
妖怪についてはあとはモブ的な大雲伝説がちらほらってところかしら。近世の創作も入るなら雲の糸は神田田が救ったのはただの雲だけど糸を垂らしてるのはブッダだし。
なるほど。植松家の装束は仏教と混ざってますもんね。関係があるかはさておいて。
あとはもう雲の神といえば創作神話とかしか思いつかないわね。アトラクナクアとか。
アトラクナカ？
そっちに行っちゃうと他のお守りも全部考え直しですよ。
言えてる。ティンダロスの猟犬にバルーシアのヘビ人間に猿はいたっけ？ウェンディゴ？
I've heard of a Wendigo, but Hound of Tyndalos, Lucius Serpent Men, that's I'm not sure what reference she's making here.
しかしなんででしょうね。日本に雲の神が少ないの。
不気味だからじゃないかしら。やっぱりモンスターになるのが関の山だったとか。
The best they could do. What, like it was a competition?
八百万の神の国なのに猟犬の狭い。
True.
もう少し真面目に考えるなら神道的には今の日本は天津神のものだからとかは？
天津神ですか？
そうそう。雨の水主に始まってイザナギ、イザナミを経由してアマテラスや天孫、ニニギにつながる系譜。ちなみにニニギの3代後が初代天皇である神武天皇だから、そこから続く今の皇族は天津神の末裔になるわね。
Yeah. At least as far as I know, certainly one of the longest reigning dynasties in the world. At least as far back as you could. I know there are mythical, like this would be a mythical ancestor, but I know there are quite a few centuries into the BC, I think. Or no, would those be the mythical ones? In any case, I know the imperial family of Japan goes back a long time. I'm not sure if they're the oldest dynasty, but I wouldn't be surprised if they were.
イザナギ、イザナミの前に神がいたんです。
結構いっぱいいるわよ。 あの夫婦は国と神をたくさん産んだけど、天地開闢と同時に神は生まれてるから。それはともかく、そういった天の国高間ヶ原をルーツに持つ神々が天津神で。
Well, if you were really interested in it, we're getting tons of Shinto lore today.
一方で高間ヶ原を放逐されたスサノオを筆頭とし、地上の世界に住み着いた神が国津神たちで、ある時に天津神たちが芦原の中津国は俺らが仕切るって言い出して、あ、日本のことね。吸ったもんだの挙句になんとか交渉成立。国津神たちはかの出雲大社に陰性して芦原の中津国の支配を譲り渡した。その後、さっきの神武天皇は都を作るために統制をやって、長常彦っていう強敵や数々の土雲を、あ、この土雲は妖怪じゃなくて先住の地方豪族に対する別称なんだけど、とにかく彼らを征伐して、それでようやく今の大和の国の基盤ができましたよというのが古事記ベースでいう日本の建国神話になるわけ。
そんな難しい話だったんです。僕はイザナギイザナミと天の岩戸とオロチ退治ぐらいしか知らなかったな。
That's the snake. I know that.
まあこれだけ権威主義的な国だから神話もごついのが必要だったんでしょう。っていうと不敬になるかな。ともかく話を戻すと、国津神はしばしば天津神に嫁入りしたりして血脈は継いでるけど、主流として語られることは少ない。日本神話の世界では男系相続が基本だから必然、この国は天津神の末裔の国ってことになるかな。それこそさっき言った蛇の神大物主なんかは国津神だけど、天津神の方がやっぱりメジャーでしょ。久石君の口からさっき出たお話もスサノオはちょっと微妙だけど、まあ大体天津神の物語と言えるし。
そうですね。
だから実は雲の神とかもいるけど、そういう地を這う虫や動物の神々って国津神にカテゴライズされちゃってて、大国主や大物主みたいな一部を除けばみんなドマイナーとして忘れられたのかもってね。
なるほど、なるほど。いや、非常に興味深い話でした。
ごめんね、ちゃんと答えを出せなくて。
まあどっちにしろ時間つぶしですから、むしろ付き合わせちゃって申し訳ないです。
いえいえ、こっちも気が紛れたわ。
ちえみちゃんとモッチーにも教えてあげようかな。
You know, I was kind of waiting for it. I was kind of waiting. What's he gonna do? Cause, okay, yep. I was just, yeah.
その二人も神話に興味が？
そうみたいですね。しかし戻るのやだな。食堂はどうしても息が詰まります。
Anyway, I left a line that pretty much implied that I knew who the wolves were. Yeah, so getting them to target him, maybe she'd start panicking and kill me. That'd make things easier for me. Nothing? I turned around and saw no one. So she ignored it. Or maybe she just broke things off for her own safety. I might have underestimated her. She clearly wasn't the type of person to panic and kill someone in daytime and suffer the corruption. I had no choice then. I considered trying something or another in this timeline again, but in the end, I decided to just jump into Saranaga. Things I'd learned today made it impossible for me to sit still. It was such a major key to this mystery. Was it? Okay. I had to bring it with me. I had to bring it to the me in the next loop as soon as possible. After gathering my resolve, I took a step forward. Gravity vanished. Right before I died, though, I thought about my one regret. It was the chat from before. Talking about history and the occult alongside Mamiya-san and Yasunaga-kun was a lot of fun. Yasunaga-kun seemed to be enjoying himself a lot too. What a waste. I got to talk about the settlement's interesting history, had a lot of fun doing it, and shared this pleasure with Yasunaga-kun. Yet, it'd be all gone now. I felt like I'd just gained another reason to end this nightmare. I'd love to chat with them about the occult as normal people, not just as potential wolves or humans. Maybe we'd drink over it too. Oh, right. Yasunaga-kun was underage. I crashed into the ground. Myth and archetype. Okay, so let's read the key, because I'm gonna need a little help game. I am not. Wait, which one was it? 9. I am not Japanese, and beyond that, I am not very informed about Shinto, so a lot of that went over my head. So let's see here. Hisako taught me about some useful knowledge about mythology and psychology. The story about the spider divinities were particularly impressionable, the Amatsukami and the Kunitsukami, the Great Mother archetype, the dream catchers. Now then, what could be the spider of Fujiyoshi? Oh boy. Okay, I'll probably have to listen to that whole conversation again because, you know, when all the various different kinds of terminology, long word terminologies were getting thrown at me, I'll be honest, my eyes were kind of glazing over a bit, just because, you know, I'm just so unfamiliar. Okay. All right, I need to listen to that conversation again, and I might have to do some Googling. I might have to do that. But even then, if I figure out what she was talking about, then there's the next step, which is to relate it to our current situation, which I may be able to research and figure out, you know, what she was talking about, but I'm less confident in my ability to find the connection here. Okay, well, all right. This was another fact-finding mission, and it was a mythology lesson essentially. So, I'm sure if you're interested in that was, as Haruaki said, that could be quite a lot of fun. I know for me, I do really like history, mythology, you know, that folklore. All that's really fun. It's just. I'm very unfamiliar with Japanese mythology, folklore. So, I mean, I know, you know, I've heard I knew what Orochi was. That's the snake, but that's an incredibly cursory glance at the whole thing, where I see some characters and some gods and some figures, but I've never actually read all the different stories and know how they relate to one another and what they symbolize, what they mean, all that sort of stuff. I'm not aware of. So I'm sure if you're interested in that, this could have been a pretty fun episode. And if you were not, then well, we'll move on next time. I'm sure there'll be another topic for us next time. I've been The Worm. This has been Raging Loop, and I hope to see you for the next one.